everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Wednesday once again. It is time for more professional wrestling talk, which is what we do here on the show that you are listening to right now on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes or on your favorite podcast application, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, who knows what you're using. There's so many out there. I appreciate you allowing me into your ear holes. Thank you so much. And I would appreciate in return then, in return as well, I'm being a little greedy to be perfectly honest, leave a like on the video here on YouTube, or if you're listening on your podcast app, 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, 5-star ratings on Spotify help out a great deal, help grow their podcast. It's a little thing you can do, but it means the world to me. And I would appreciate your support tremendously. Thank you in advance. Thank you. And you can also, another way that you can show some support is come join me in the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. The link is in the description. When I say me, I mean the little Warren Hayes community that we have going. Nice little place, fun wrestling talk, serious talk, nonsense, a good combination, whatever you're looking for. You can find it there. So I appreciate you, and you're more than welcome. The link is in the description. I don't know if I mentioned it. I don't remember. Maybe I did. The link is in the description regardless. As for today, as for this podcast right here, well, the main event, the main attraction is that we're going to be talking about AEW, not AEW. We're going to be talking about WWE. I'm already thinking to the weekend. Excuse me about that. We're going to be talking about WWE Elimination Chamber Toronto. I'm going to be reviewing that show. I've got all my thoughts all lined up and ready to go. So that one is ready to go if you want. Plus, we're going to be previewing the New Japan Cup, which begins this weekend. So I've got that lined up as well. Couple of little bits and bobs, some stream highlights for you on top of that. So I think we're all our ducks are in order here. Let's get to it. Thank you all very much for being here. Finally, the inevitable has occurred. Rey Fenix has been removed from AEW's roster page. It does seem that the thing that everyone knew was happening for months at this point has happened. Rey Fenix, we're reading the article off of the Figure 4 Online. Rey Fenix no longer appears on the company's roster page. Last month, Malachi Black and Ricky Starks, parentheses, Saints, were removed from the roster page shortly before news broke that they had been released from their contracts. Our own Dave Meltzer addressed the news on Monday, writing, quote, Rey Fenix was removed from the AEW website. The belief is that, it's funny that Dave's, I think website is one word now. It's like people who write email with a hyphen, E, or do like E capital MAIL. Like I think that's probably how Dave still writes email. E capital MAIL, all one word. The belief was that he was released from the rest of his contract, similar to Starks and Black, and will be in WWE ASAP. We had known there were talks in that direction for a few weeks. AEW hasn't confirmed the second part, but the removal pretty much says that. In last week's edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Meltzer reported that WWE has already been drawing up creative plans for Fenix's arrival, despite the fact that he had not been released from his AEW contract. What? I can't believe it. You mean you're telling me that Rey Fenix was already contracted and was ready to go into WWE while he still under contract with AEW? Why, that's just bad form. It's funny how no one's losing their mind over that. It is believed AEW extended injury time into Fenix's deal, keeping him under contract until mid-2025. This prevented him from signing with WWE at the same time as his brother Penta. Will they change his name to Fenix so as to not confuse American children with two different Rays? No, they will absolutely not refer to him as Rey Fenix. That is 100% sure. Because then you'll have people saying, are they related? We knew this was coming for a while. I don't think anyone is taken off guard here. And And it shows, if the reports are indeed true, as Meltzer reported here, I should say, that he was released from the rest of his contract as opposed to sitting down and waiting out. That means that there has been a significant shift in AEW's approach to these departing talents. I think that's pretty self-evident at this point. Because if the belief is that he was indeed released, then I guess Tony has sort of come around to say, or someone talked him into it or whatever the fuck, where it's like, why are you keeping these people? Why are you locking them down? And just like I had mixed feelings on AEW, locking Fenix down, sending him into Guantanamo Bay. But locking Fenix down and, with the extra injury time when people, were very, very upset that he did that. I mean, it's like I argued at the time, and I still maintain that position when I maintain the position, you'll see what I mean. I still maintain the position that it makes sense for AEW to hang on to the talent that they have and sort of just to impede the works of WWE, because WWE works to impede just about everything AEW does.
And subscribe.
And shut up, Alvarez. And they work to impede everything AEW does, even to the point of, now absolutely 100% messing with the actual talent pipeline that exists in the United States, mostly to mess with AEW and make it harder for AEW to contract talent. There is a talent war happening right now in pro wrestling in the United States, and that is good for talent, but it's bad for promotions because promotions have to pay more to secure talent from going away and joining the other guys. That's on a basic level, and there's a little more scarcity. There's more choice for the talent. Again, good thing for the talent, bad for the promotions where they have to, sort of lay out the red carpet and so on and so forth. But it's a good time to be a pro wrestler, a TV-ready pro wrestler in the United States, because things are very, very much on your side right now. It's it's a buyer's market. It's a seller's market. It's a seller's market because you're selling your talent. So it's a seller's market. And then of course, I still had the other position. I was very on the fence because not very on the fence because I had the other position, which was, it's kind of disgraceful for AEW to lock down a talent who just wants to leave, wants to do something else, and they're just squirreling him away and not letting him wrestle. And that sucks because the wrestler should be able to, hone their craft, do what they want, do what they need to do. Of course, they are still getting paid, but nonetheless, this is a business that works on performance, on hype, on being on TV. So ultimately, this is hurting Rey Fenix more than anything else. And I always thought that sucked. And ultimately, where I leaned the most, I could understand both sides, but ultimately, it's like, nah, it sucks for the workers. It sucks for the workers. That's all there is to it. I understand the business decisions. Doesn't mean I have to like them. So that was my position, and it's it kind of still is. And I think if AEW is relenting and letting these people leave, I think it's good. I think it's good because it stops hanging around. It stops hanging over the locker room, and it's going to be good on that level for all the people involved. They're just going to be able to move on. And, I was talking about it earlier on stream. I feel these days that AEW is good. Like Collision's been very good. Dynamite's been good overall. We've got a big pay-per-view coming up. Like there's a lot of positives regarding AEW these days that make it really exciting to be invested in it again. And I think that maybe some of what's being lifted off of the locker room is seeping into the television, and people feel, if the wrestlers feel happier, more energetic, they're like, okay, this is all good. We're finally getting rid of the bad stuff, of the bad elements, of the shadows that were cast over the locker room, and now we're now everyone's sort of in a good vibe. Well, that comes across on television as well. Should he have released Rey Fenix sooner? I guess, sure. Yes. I guess so. Because ultimately, here's the thing, is that ultimately, no matter what your position is here, I think that AEW locking down Rey Fenix like they did, and Rey Fenix becoming a bit of a martyr on social media, only helped Rey Fenix. Like, he is going to be super over the minute he starts with WWE. He's going to be the talk of the town. Everyone's going to be having a take, an opinion, some thoughts regarding Rey for the next 3 days after his debut, whether it's tonight, whether it's, after Mania, who gives a fuck, Whenever it happens, Rey Fenix, yeah, I guess they do have to change the Rays so that people don't get confused. Rey Fenix is going to be, is absolutely going to be received like, like the prodigal son. That's all there is to it. Like, if anything, this situation helped raise, this situation helped raise Phoenix's stock amongst WWE fans. And one thing that I find deplorable right now is how a lot of people, a lot of AEW fans, or not, who cares, are, but I guess mostly AEW fans in this situation, are saying, good riddance, hit the bricks, you bum, it's like, and I'm like, what are we doing? What, like, pump the brakes and let's be a little objective here, okay? Let's be a little objective, because no matter what your feelings are on how this was, and how all of this went down, Rey Fenix has very little to do with it. Now, did he mismanage this on his end, posting, pictures of him with a straight jacket and, complaining about, being silenced or whatever, and one day the truth will come out, all this bullshit? Yes, I think that's poorly mismanaged. I think he has another guy in his ear telling him what to say, who's a guy who is a AAA shit stirrer. But was it poor? Did he handle it well? No, I don't think he handled his exit well. Now, is this enough for me to completely turn and say Rey Fenix good riddance? No. Again, look at all the people who recently left from the company, who were either released early or contracts weren't renewed. Malachi Black, Miro, Ricky Starks, Layla Hirsch, and Rey Fenix. And allegedly there's more to come, but we're not dwelling on that right now. But, let's look at these five here. Malachi Black, Miro, Layla Hirsch, that's all fine. Like, AEW will not be worse for wear with them gone. AEW will not be worse for wear with them gone. Ricky Starks, I think, had potential to be something special in AEW. For whatever reason, it didn't happen. And maybe he could have been a star. Maybe he could have been something special for the company, but he didn't. So looking at the body of work as opposed to what could have been, again, I don't think AEW is going to be worse off without him. But you could argue, you can make an argument that Starks had shown star power potential, that his follow-ups to his feuds were awful, and that stuff, whatever creative that was being brought to him was dreadful, and ultimately never allowed him to hit the highs. You could convince me of that. I'd buy that. Rey Fenix, I believe, is the guy who had is a guy, let's put him there with Ricky. I think he's a guy who had potential and who had the potential for something special within the company. Because I think from the get-go, AEW fans always loved Rey Fenix. They loved the Lucha Bros, but I think AEW fans loved Rey Fenix a little more. I think they had the support for him a lot more, and to the point that one of the most long-running fan narratives or expectations that was out there was whether or not Rey Fenix was going to get a singles run. Break up the Lucha Bros, have them have a little blood feud, which would have been tremendous, and have Fenix go on a proper upper mid-card run. I'm not saying world championship material. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. But like an international title run? Hell yeah. Like he held the title for a cup of coffee. Or was it still the All Atlantic title back in the day? I think so, right? Cross Atlantic, the Pan Am title, whatever it was called. I don't remember. It was the All Atlantic, right? Yeah. So, you know, and I really like, this was a guy that fans loved. AEW fans loved this guy. Like, this is a guy who could have been a solid upper mid-card act for the rest of his career with AEW. But there was a wall. There was a wall that was hit, and I don't know what it was. I don't know what the issue was. Because when he accidentally won the All-Atlantic title, which he wasn't supposed to, like I said, he held it for a cup of coffee, like not even 3 weeks. He didn't hold it for a month, like not even a full month. 3 weeks at the most. When he got the title, I think a lot of fans, including myself, who thought that, okay, now we experiment, now we try the Rey Fenix singles run. No, instead he dropped it instantly back to Orange Cassidy. Was it? I think so. And ultimately that's the issue, right? Is that the issue is that you end up with Rey Fenix had the opportunity to have his singles run, and he won the title accidentally. And instead of running with it, no, we just completely obliterate that and change course. It's like, no, this was not supposed to happen, and we're not going to experiment with this. So there was a wall. There was something creatively that was preventing Rey Fenix from moving upward in the company. Despite being a guy that AEW fans loved from the start, from the get-go, were super behind, and would have absolutely 100% bought as a singles champion. So him leaving, to me, essentially is a big missed opportunity. Much more than Penta. I think Fenix had the little extra value add that Penta doesn't necessarily have. Penta's great, you know, has his own crowd connection, he's fine, but he's not the worker Rey was. He really isn't. He really isn't. I'm sorry to watch his matches. He's a great vibes guy. Phoenix had the work, he had the charisma. He was very good. And I think that's a huge, ultimately, Rey Fenix departing AEW without them ever having tested the waters of him being a singles guy is, it's wrong, man. It's deplorable. Everyone's going to talk about how Tony fumbled Ricky Starks. Well, AEW kind of missed the boat on Rey Fenix, I think. Or at least try it out. I don't want to give the impression that I'm saying this was an absolute shoo-in. What a fucking disaster. Mismanaged company. What is this shit, Tony Khan? What I am saying is that the test was never there. We never explored it. It would have been really interesting to give it a shot, as opposed to many other guys who got single shots. I'm just saying. Ricky Starks got a bigger push than most in late 2022 through 2023. True. A lot of the poor follow-up falls on Ricky. Too many people gave him a free pass. I want to say that it's I don't hate your take at all. I think it's a fair take. I slightly disagree in the idea where I think it's more of a 50-50. I think there's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B as to why the push didn't work out. Whichever one it is it the, you know, look, I know he was mad that, you know, I know he was mad about not getting his feud with CM Punk. I understand. But he fucking got Bryan Danielson instead in a legendary strap match. Okay? Come on. Like, at some point, you suck it up, right? But was the follow-up to that great? No, not necessarily. Was there stuff going on backstage that we don't know about? Probably. Like, I'm sure everything could be explained if we were observers going, you know, seeing everything going on. But, you know, yeah. Look, ultimately, my point here is that, and I don't want to give the impression that I'm sort of like poo-pooing Ricky Starks and like, what a loser, WWE can have him. No, I still think, you know, Ricky Starks could have had the potential. We did try. The thing is the point ultimately I'm trying to make is that we did try. When I say we, I mean AEW. We did try with Ricky Starks, but we didn't try with Fenix. And I think that's my main gripe. That's my main issue. And you're not going to sit here, you know, I'm not going to entertain, you know, hardcore AEW fans who are going to try and retcon the idea that Rey Fenix was, oh, you know, what a loser. He stunk. It was, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. No. We're not going to retcon that because he was part of the fabric of AEW, just along with his brother. But I think he was the shining star of the duo. He was the better wrestler, and he had the better crowd connection overall because he had the work, because he was tremendous. Penta is Vibes guy, and he's great at what he does. Don't get me wrong. But you know, the idea that Rey Fenix was just like a throwaway guy and is, oh, what a bum, he can go fuck off, never really liked him anyway. False. That's just cope, as the kids say. It's cope, not Adam Copeland, like the actual definition, which I guess is getting kind of cringe to say now. You know, I think we're moving on from cope. I don't think it's all that great now. Copium, hopium, all that stuff feels really weird now. Doesn't feel as interesting. But that's it. It's like I won't stand for I won't stand for retconning. I won't stand for reinventing history. AEW fans loved Rey Fenix. They wanted to get behind him. He was never given the opportunity. If he had been given the opportunity, this would be an entirely different ball game. And I love WrestleMania season for this kind of stuff. This is where things get messy in WWE. This is the time of year where things start getting a little, you know, tensions get high because everyone wants their spot. They want a big match, you know, and they jockey and they do their best and they do great social media. They do great in-ring work. And then, you know, and they hope to get a really good spot at WrestleMania, and then they end up, you know, having to wrestle Damian Priest. But like, legitimately, there's no time of the year that is more fun. And Dave Meltzer today added to the fun. Okay, I was floored when someone shared me this tweet. I was like, what is he talking about? Well, I know what he's talking about, but look, let's read the thing, because he dropped some massive nuggets of information here. And I'm talking massive nuggets. And I'm excited to share them with you in case you haven't seen it. Excited to share it with you. Here's the tweet The motivation, okay, well, he's coming after he's quote tweeting a guy named Wrestle G. Like, why is he quote tweeting a guy, he's got a blue check mark. Everyone has a fucking blue check mark on Twitter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Wrestle G says, my latest for no.dq.com, where I theorize what the motivations were for John Cena turn both in and out of the ring. And Dave quote tweets that and says the following. The motivation is that Dwayne wanted Cody, legit, as in he wanted Cody to turn. And I know this as a fact because a mutual friend last week mentioned the politics as Levesque absolutely thought it was a terrible idea. But in a fight with Dwayne, with Nick Khan, as an arbiter, he loses every time. However, wait, we're not done. You thought that was good? Let's keep going. However, several convinced Cody to simply refuse. So art was a lot like life this time. Dwayne wouldn't go after Cody politically, so he let it go. Cena was the second choice, and Cena was fine with it. And then the last line, as if all of this smorgasbord of delicious information, this buffet of ultimately really tremendous backstage happenings wasn't enough. Here comes the chaser. Punk was never asked. Okay, so there's a lot to break down here, okay? So basically, what Dave is telling us is that the original plan, or at least the plan that Dwayne wanted when he came in to disrupt, to be the disruptor, right? The motive, when he came in, he wanted Cody Rhodes to turn heel, okay? And Dave is saying Levesque was pushing back. Trips thought it was a terrible idea. And between you and me, it was a terrible idea. But it's very consistent with Cody, who he doesn't want to do the heel thing. He pushed back, against everything in AEW to avoid doing that, despite the fact that people were practically begging him to be a heel. But no, he stood his ground. There was no way he was doing it. He's a hero, goddammit. He's an American hero. So the motivation for the John Cena heel turn was Dwayne originally wanted Cody, but Trips fought back. But in a fight with Dwayne and with Nick standing between the two to try to maintain the order, this is such good. He loses every time. Triple H basically pushes back against Dwayne, and then Nick Khan comes to him and says, do what you're told. You can imagine the shit that was going down last year, and where they have to bring in Nick Khan, who doesn't give a fuck about this creative nonsense. And the only reason why he's involved is because Dwayne Johnson is involved in this, who is on the board of TKO. So, has a little authority over Nick. So Nick's not a dummy. He knows where his bread is buttered. He's not going to stand up against Dwayne. He's going to be like, Paul, Jesus Christ, shut your mouth, know your role. Do what you're told. That's a crazy dynamic. Something that a lot of us believed was going on backstage, even last year with all the shenanigans and Cody giving up his spot for The Rock and all of that. You kind of had the impression that, you were kind of left wondering at the very least, does Paul truly have control over his creative? Because The Rock runs in and he basically changes everything. So the idea here that, Paul is this guy who oversees everything and has control over everything except when Dwayne comes in. And this is going to be the perception moving forward. This is what we have to keep in mind, is whenever Dwayne is not around, Paul's in charge. When Dwayne is off making Hollywood feature films or, going down to the distillery, is that what you do? Do you distill vodka? I don't know. Probably, right? No, tequila. Not tequila. Yeah, you distill vodka. Probably with tequila as well, right? Anyway, he goes out, let's say he goes to the distillery to check on his vodka. He goes to the energy drink factory for his energy drink. What is it called? Mamu. I don't remember. There's a big cardboard cutout of The Rock at my supermarket, showing off his Manomu. I don't remember what it's called. So whenever Rock is not there, is what I'm trying to say, Trips has the run of the place. It's his show. But once Dwayne shows up, certain concessions might be made. Will be made. And again, I'm sure you go back and you listen to what I was talking about last year. I don't remember everything about WrestleMania, everything I was talking about last year. I was coming out of, severe heart surgery. So, there's certain things that are a little blurry, but I'm sure I, at the very least, spoke on how Dwayne basically ran the show and he came in and tore plans up, and then they had to re-tear plans up and whatnot. So, However, several convinced Cody to simply refuse. So Art was a lot like life, was a lot like life this time. But I thought, isn't this interesting? And Dwayne wouldn't go after Cody politically, so he let it go. Probably because they spent 2 hours hashing things out in his bus drinking tequila. That's probably the reason, right? Because they're best friends now. All right, Mama Rock and Mama Rhodes, they're like this now. They're best friends. I saw your daughter, your only child. You know her name. So you had people going to Cody and say, look, you have to stand up to Rock because it's not going to work. And he stood up to Rock because Rock was like, okay, I'm not going to do it. And Cena was the second choice and Cena was fine with it. So was the first choice to run Cody as a heel and Cena as a babyface? Is that still the thing? That was still the match, right? So we allegedly were about to get heel Cody and babyface Cena. And again, I still think it's weird. I still think it's really, really weird, by the way, that I still think it's weird that Cena is potentially setting up for a heel run on his final year as a full-time pro wrestler, or as a pro wrestler, period. He's retiring. But I talk about it on the review, on the Elimination Chamber review, which will be available tomorrow on the podcast. Unless you're a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, there you've probably already listened to it. So I go a little more in depth on those thoughts. I don't think the John Cena heel turn is going to last all that long regardless, but that's just me. Let's move on here. So this was a situation. Rock wanted to tear up the plans. Triple H said, "Hold on, brother." Nick said, "No, you hold on, brother." And then people got into Cody's ear and told him, push back, push back, push back. Cody pushed back. So the angle they were doing was essentially what was happening kind of in real life, where Rock wanted to do something, wanted Cody to turn heel, and Cody was like, no, I'm not doing it. But as Chat pointed out, the Punk was never asked line was so fucking unnecessary. But that's what makes it so epic. It makes it so funny. So incredibly funny. Because between this And between this and the Becky Lynch post, that's just like tremendous stuff. Do we know about the Becky Lynch post? Hang on, let me pull it up. I should have got that ready. I should have thought that I was going to talk about it because it was so epic. It was so funny. And she deleted it, of course. Becky posted this during Raw last night when I guess CM Punk was telling Becky, you should come get your man. And she tweets this epic, unforgettable tweet. One that should be hung up into the rafters of legendary, great pro wrestling tweets. She says, catching up on Raw, I don't think I'm the one who needs to come get my man. Quote tweeting some rando on Twitter who tweeted pictures of next to each other, CM Punk and Roxanne Perez, both, kind of looking excited to be going after each other kind of thing. Punk is, stretching his neck out, seeking out something. It looks like he's looking for something. And then Roxanne with the huge fucking grin on her face, dashing out of her pod at an Elimination Chamber. Like, it is such an incredible burn. And she probably got a little DM from old Phil. This, because it got deleted. This was not Phil approved. Phil did not put his stamp of approval on this. He just found out that Becky Lynch is a poster. I don't know if you all remember this, but a couple of years ago, Becky Lynch is a fucking great poster. She has the heart of a shit-posting queen. She's tremendous at it. This was absolutely phenomenal. Just phenomenal stuff. So when you add that to this here, Punk was never asked. These are the kind of things that wake up, Mount Brooks. These are the things that the dormant volcano known as Mount Brooks sort of awakens from. But again, like, this connects. Punk was never asked, and this connects exactly to what we were talking about on stream last night, I believe. Yeah. When we were talking about Phil not showing up for basically going, oh, well, I'm not going to be at a main event. The WrestleMania main event, well, who knows if that's going to happen, right? When that's been his thing. Militing to get a spot in the main event. Like, that's always been that's always been the gaping hole in his career. That's what he's always wanted. And he was doing the rounds on Friday before the Elimination Chamber going, yeah, well, I don't think, if there's a main event for WrestleMania in the cards for me, well, it'll happen. There's nothing I can do about it. And like, isn't that an odd little conversation? And this just adds some credence to it, where all of this is happening and no one is even bothering to wake up Phil Brooks and say, Phil, do you want to do this angle? They don't want him in this spot. They don't want him in this spot. You can say whatever you want about Phil, whether he's reformed and whatnot and so on and so forth, but these are all extremely petty people. This is a guy, this is Triple H, learned from the master of pettiness, Vince McMahon, on how to hold a grudge. He learned from the best. It's a guy who recently, right, very recently, Bubba Ray Dudley on his, his radio show, he was saying that B. Priestley probably got fired from WWE because of the comments that Will Ospreay made about Triple H. And, Bubba Ray saying, you don't know how these people are. They're, that's how it works. They're so fucking petty or something to that effect, right? So I'm supposed to outright believe that two guys who absolutely did not like each other suddenly get all back together after one guy tried to sue the company that the other guy works for, comes back, shake our hands, oh, we hashed it out, it's all good now. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you really trying to make me believe that it's all water under the bridge for Triple H? Do you think CM Punk has let go of all the stuff that he had to endure with Triple H being the boss's son back in the day? CM Punk, the guy who just a couple of years ago revealed that he had hung on to emails that Brian Alvarez sent him all the way back in 2007 and used them as some sort of gotcha in a Twitter beef. Like, what the fuck? These are the pettiest people alive. I buy every second of this. That Punk was not involved, that he wasn't even considered, and I'd go even as far as to say that Triple H doesn't even want him involved. Simple as that. But you know what puts this tweet over? You know what really puts this tweet over? It's Dave just dropping this on Twitter for free without any build, without any extra context over it. This is not like included in the Observer where he's giving 500 words of context around it and, building the full narrative. Nah, he's just like, I'll just drop it here. On top of this guy here, who's like, I theorized the motivations for the John Cena turn. And then Dave goes, I know the motivations. And then he just drops it. And that is such a legendary move. And it's 40% of the charm. It's 40% of the charm of this post. It's just tremendous stuff. I think that's what puts it over even more, where you're like, Dave, look at all the information that you're dropping here. And it's just like, we just want more context. All of these, it's a tremendous post and continues to show that not everything is rosy and clean in the locker room backstage in WWE. It's just they don't have people leaking every little baby piece of shit that's happening backstage to media, to reporters. They just don't, for multiple reasons. That's why AEW's locker room seems more like a shit show, because they don't have the handle that they have on their PR like WWE does. But there's a lot of shit going on backstage, and this continues to prove it. It's just we don't hear about it as often. But when it happens, I'm not necessarily surprised. I'm more like stunned that suddenly this information comes out. There's a lot of this stuff that is confirmation of a lot of things that I believe is going on. So you're like, I got a good vibe for this. But ultimately, it's just like, yeah, it's a fucking pro wrestling locker room. What do you want from me? It's a pro wrestling locker room, and it's acting accordingly. The New Japan Cup is beginning this weekend. Very intriguing tournament laid out for us. A couple of weeks ago on stream, I did the whole setup here that you're seeing on screen for those who have the benefit of video right now. I did live all of my picks for the New Japan Cup on this graphic here, which was provided by sportofprowrestling.com, our boy Chris Samsa at the Chris Samsa on the social media, and I was all ready to provide my picks for the pick'em that they're doing over there as well on the New Japan on sportofprowrestling.com, excuse me. But I hadn't sent them in yet, and I'm glad I didn't, because with events that happened over the course of the New Beginning in Osaka and in the lead-in, on the tour, there's a couple of things that sort of switched around, that I changed. And I'm not necessarily going to break down all of the picks here. That would be an exercise that maybe is a little too long. But I think we can focus on my final, on my final four at the very least. And maybe a couple of other people here as well. Because I think there's some very interesting things that are going on right now that have shifted how I see the cup going down. And it's a thing that I had a perception of what things were going to how things were going to go down in the cup, but like I said, now it's kind of changed for me. One thing that hasn't changed is that I still sincerely believe that David Finlay is going to win, and I know there's still a high level of uncertainty in regards to Dave Finlay's continued presence in New Japan. And the fact that, he has a bye in this tournament. He has a bye. So, he's not getting knocked out in the first round. He's still going to be around. And they've established this idea of a little Bullet Club feud. I don't want to call it a civil war because that's an old angle. And I don't think that's what we're doing here. I think there might be a little war brewing straight out as opposed to a civil war. It just might be, we're going to get rid of each other once and for all. And look, regardless of the situation, let's operate under the assumption that David Finlay is sticking around with New Japan and that he's going to be there for a while. I still think he's the guy who this year is going to win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. I think he's going to take it off of Hiroki Goto. I don't think Goto's going to have a really long reign. I think Finlay, by the time spring rolls around, basically when we get to Dominion, he's going to either win or already be IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. I think that's how it goes. Because Finlay, I think his work that he was doing last year was the best of his career. I think they finally found his groove. I think he understands and holds he understands his character a lot better, and his wrestling style has changed to this bully, which is absolutely phenomenal. And he has been doing tremendous work. I have never been that high on Dave Finlay, and he's been winning me over. I don't see him leaving New Japan just yet. You never know, but I don't know what kind of spot he fills in on American soil. I don't know what he does in what promotion. I don't know what people get. I don't know how American fans get behind David Finlay. I think he has a lot more identity to have crossover. And I think the story of him beating Goto for this, while he handed Goto's ass last year, I think that's in front of his children, making his daughter cry and all that, bringing that back and beating Goto again, it's phenomenal storytelling. And the one thing that we must never forget is that David Finlay has always lost upward. Even when he was never openweight champion, once he was done, they moved him up. He didn't hang around the never title orbit. He moved right up. Global title, loses it, but you're like, did he really lose? We haven't seen him. That's the idea of as well. We haven't seen him since Wrestle Kingdom, really. So I feel like I see the vision. I feel like I see it. And I think Finlay is at a really good spot where he'll be, I feel like he's in a really good spot to have really good main events. I wouldn't have said this a year ago, date for date, but his latter part of 2024 was just phenomenal stuff. His G1 was really good. His matches as global champion were phenomenal stuff. I'm not going to discount it. And look, not Goto, but Gedo has been his guy. Like, he's been his handler. Every time Gedo sort of cozies up to a dude, that dude ends up being world champion. So even the symbolism is there. I wouldn't discount this. And I think David Finlay winning the New Japan Cup, a tournament which a lot of people believed David Finlay was the guy who was supposed to win last year but got injured out. He was supposed to win last year. I think they're running with that plan this year. And I think the seeds are even better than they were last year because I think he's been better. I think his run has been better. I think Goto as a champion is a much more compelling match for him as well than with Zach. You know, I think I'm not sold on, look, I'm not sold on the idea that he's leaving. There has been a lot of talk in the darker corners of Twitter, but I haven't heard anything really convincing. Did I say Twitter? I meant the internet. Yeah, so you know, I'm not entirely unconvinced here that this is not going to be. I think this is his to win this year. Absolutely. I think David Finlay beating Goto for the belt will regress them back to the mediocrity they were before. They need to end Goto's reign with one of the young Japanese guys like Tsuji or Takeshita. Now, you see, you're not seeing the vision. You're not seeing the vision of Dave Finlay defeating fan favorite, lovely dad and all-around hero, Hiroki Goto, and holding the belt until one of the young guys steps up to crush him and become the new hero. That's how you book, man. That's how you book. Think about this. If David Finlay is world champion and wins at Dominion, his next defense is going to be in fucking September, August or September. And we're going to go through the entire G1 and he's going to be one competitor amongst others, right? But his only meaningful defense afterwards is going to be in December. September, January, August or September. I'm good with dates. So it's not as if we're entering this incredibly crucial period where you absolutely have to have a top guy who's drawing or whatnot. No, it's the fucking G1. The G1 draws by itself. The G1 is the draw. The tournament is the draw. And he's going to be in it. And he's going to be one guy amongst the others. And we're going to set up some stories. And we're going to set up a nice through line to get us to Wrestle Kingdom, where his challenger is going to beat him. And hopefully we'll go back to the old system and not do what we did in September, where the G1 winner gets the shot at Wrestle Kingdom, right? Hopefully that's what we do. I wanted Shingo for a good match, but you're suggesting Finlay gives multiple good stories. I mean, I'm putting Shingo in the main event to this because it's going to be a great match. Finlay and Shingo is going to be tremendous, and it's going to give credibility to David Flair because Shingo loses now. That's his thing. Shingo, the Shingo push is over. The main event push, thing of the past. It's fine. But he's going to have a great match with Finlay. It's going to be a hard-hitting, tremendous match in which Finlay is going to be able to use his power moves, and it's going to look impressive. Like, it's a perfect opponent. They're perfect opponents for each other in this context. And it makes perfect sense. And when you look at the brackets, okay, if we go back a little in the brackets, Finlay gets the bye, but then I think fights Evil in the second round, right? Yota Tsuji and Evil. Well, I think Evil goes forward to get the David Finlay Evil Bullet Club sort of spat and get that going, but David Finlay gets the upper hand because he's fully aware of the antics that the House of Torture are going to pull. So the War Dogs are going to be there and so on and so forth. It's going to be a shit match. It's not going to be the greatest match of the tournament, but that's going to happen there. In the meantime, I have Yuya Uemura coming through, who is one of the hot prospects, right? And he's going to meet David Finlay in the quarterfinals. and he's not going to be able to defeat Finley. Finley's just going to be one step ahead, and that's fine. Then we get Finley against Ryohei Oiwa. If you look at Oiwa's trajectory, like he's defeating Chase Owens, right? And then Oiwa versus Zack Sabre Jr., because Zack gets the bye, is a tremendous match. And this is one of the things that I was able, that I switched from when I did the the bracketology a couple of weeks ago, because Zack was still champion at that point, but now he's not champion anymore. And so these are two TMDK guys. I absolutely see Zack going, yeah, I'm going to put my guy over. I'm absolutely going to put my guy over, because they have, I think, Oiwa is one of these guys who's ready to step up. Then we have him versus Ren Narita, because yes, I think Ren Narita is defeating Gabe Kidd, and I think he's going to squeeze his way through Taichi. Like he's going to be the shit heel. He's going to be the shit heel who keeps moving forward. It's not going to be, you can't have Evil doing that as well, especially on the same side of the bracket. So we knock out Evil, but we do it with Ren Narita. The surprise guy, the guy that you're not expecting to move forward. Gabe Kidd is, he's got some stuff lined up in the US. So he has to take time. He can't do the tour. Nothing's been announced, but I'm sure, he's got some stuff simmering in AEW. He's going to hang out in the US for a while, hang out with his girlfriend. And Narita beating him is going to be like this nice surprise victory that is going to allow him to move forward. And that Narita, and then Kidd for the rest of the tour, he'll be able to go head to North America and do his stuff with AEW and whatever else, right? I think that's a perfectly reasonable scenario. And then Oiwa beats Narita. We get to Oiwa with Finley, but Finley overpowers Oiwa, and that's fine. Then Oiwa moves forward. And Shingo, well, look, Shingo. I think in this context, it makes for a solid main event. Shingo is very well liked by the Japanese audiences, so he can reasonably draw. I'm not saying like he's this massive draw, but he can reasonably draw. So it makes sense to put him in the main event of the last night. And look at it. Let's take a look at his trajectory. He has the bye. I'm having, Bolt and Oleg go over Bad Luck Fale, which I think that's the easiest surefire win match of the tournament, like result of the tournament, right? And at first I had Oleg going forward, but I switched gears on it, because then I was like, well, Drilla Maloney's going to go forward because he's going to beat TJP, right? Former friends from United Empire. It was TJP who brought Drilla Maloney into United Empire, and Drilla Maloney turned on him. So there's history there. I think Maloney goes forward because he's in for a little push. He's going to get a little pushy push. So he's going to fight TJP after dispatching Tomohiro Ishii. And then he moves forward to fight Shingo for their rematch from a few weeks ago. But in this circumstance, Shingo gets his win back. So I think this all makes sense, and we get some good, I'm all for Shingo and Drilla Maloney going at it again. Like, what are we even talking about here? Like, that's tremendous. And then higher on the bracket, El Fantasmo and Great Okan. I have Great Okan moving forward because Shota Umino has a bye, and Shota Umino is coming back repackaged. That's my theory. That's my working theory. So he's coming back repackaged, and he's ready for getting his win back on Great Okan, who, did all the nonsense and shaved his hair, and, now he's going to prove that he's the guy, right? At least we hope so. Hopefully this repackaging will do some good. I don't know what it's going to be, or maybe there won't be a repackaging. And if there's not, I'm going to be disappointed. But I'm expecting a repackage. I'm expecting one. And he moves forward. And I think Callum Newman goes forward quite a bit. Yeah, look, I wouldn't be surprised. Here's okay, one thing at a time here. Callum Newman, Tetsuya Naito, they've been having series of singles matches, right? Like Newman has been trying to overcome Naito, hasn't been quite working out. This might be the time that it works out. He's coming back from injury. I wouldn't be surprised because they're pushing this guy as a heavyweight. I wouldn't be surprised if Callum Newman packed on some pounds. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if Callum Newman comes back from his injury and he's in an entirely different shape, right? He hasn't been doing much media. Sometimes there's a reason for that. I'm not saying that he will. I'm saying don't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back bigger, buffer, looking like a heavyweight, Because I think we can all agree that Callum Newman, good little wrestler, his look, his presentation is a little awkward. This might be a way to even things out. So I think he finally gets his win over Naito. Again, I don't think Naito can do the singles thing. I think he should stick to his tag team for now. And then Callum defeats Jeff Cobb on top of that, his buddy, his partner, and then moves on against Shota Umino, two young guys. We're doing a lot of the young guys matches too, right? Oiwa and Narita, Umino and Newman, and I think Shota moves forward but gets his ass handed to him by Shingo. Although you could make an argument for Shota to move forward, but in my vision, if David Finlay's in the finals and he's going to win, and if Shota comes back repackaged, and I'm assuming the repackage is going to be maybe with a little heel edge, maybe not the baby face that we knew. New Japan doesn't like booking two heels in a main event for a tournament. Not saying they never do it, saying they don't like it. Makes a lot more sense to have David Finlay clear heel against Shingo, clear babyface. And then on top of that, you get the great match. That's how I think this is going to go down. That's essentially how I think this is going to go down. And I'm very excited to see how a lot of these guys are gonna come through, considering how fresh New Japan feels right now, how it feels like daring right now, how it feels like there's some new spots that have been open for guys whoever wants to take it. I think a guy like Oiwa, like Umera, they have an opportunity to truly shine in this circumstance. I think a guy like Shota Umino has a lot to prove still, and maybe there's going to be a lot of eyes on that on the second round. There's going to be a lot of eyes on Shota Umino to see what exactly his next move is, what he's going to look like. Oleg might not get very far, but if he continues off of the momentum of his match with Konosuke Takeshita and delivers big time, I mean, what more do you want? A lot of young guys here, and Drilla Maloney. We sort of have to insert him into the conversations here too. Perfect timing for his push. I'm excited to see how all of this is going to come together. Like this, it's a very interesting New Japan Cup, and we of course are going to cover it here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I'll be watching it with great interest because I love tournament wrestling. I love tournament wrestling, and you should love it too, God damn it. Oh, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll circle back. It is time to review WWE Elimination Chamber Toronto, also known as WWE Elimination Chamber 2025, whichever floats your boat, whatever you prefer. That happened on March 1st, 2025, from the aforementioned city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, in the Rogers Centre. A show that, for all intents and purposes, was boring. Not a complete and utter disaster. Not a good show either, by any stretch of the imagination. Just a show that had me completely bored. And thankfully, we had a terrific angle to finish off the pay-per-view, which again is weird but at least it's a big time angle and something that was done quite well. And then we'll get into it as soon as we're done with the business aspect of it. But yeah, look, if you wanted the cliff notes, there you go. That's what you're going to get out of this review. Stick around and hear the deets. Let's start by talking about the business aspect. WWE announced 38,493 people in attendance at the show. WrestleTix on their end. I've been following this for over the past week because it has been very interesting. WrestleTix as of yesterday, so not the final count, as I'm recording this on Sunday on the 2nd. There hasn't been any announcement. There hasn't been a final count made by WrestleTix, but they have yesterday on their Saturday post before the show, they had established 35,298 tickets distributed, which is very good. And did they make it up to 38,000? You know, I would say there's a fair chance they got really close. We know the numbers are inflated with WWE. Okay, we're not gonna sit here and pretend that the numbers aren't that the numbers are spot on correct. It's the same thing with any wrestling promotion. I'm not just pointing WWE. You know, everyone does it. It's, you know, that's the nature of the beast when it comes to pro wrestling. But it's very plausible that they got very close. You know, and the reason why. Because again, I've kind of been following this all week because it's been very fascinating. As of last Sunday, let's put it that way. You know, a week before the show, WWE. They were still under 30,000 tickets distributed for the show. They were like at something around like 28,000, something to that effect. I don't quite remember. They were, but you know, they were in the higher end of the 20,000s, but still under 30K, slightly under 30K. And then The Rock shows up on Raw and then announced that he's going to be there at the show. And overnight they pushed like 3,000 tickets, right? The Rock single-handedly put the show over 30,000 people in the building. And the entire week passes and we get right into 35,000. This is all on the back of the announcement of Dwayne being there. So, I mean, you know, no one doubts that he was a draw, but in the context here where we're wondering, well, was it really 38,000? You know, were they able, again, like WrestleTix said that the tickets distributed for, as of Saturday, yesterday, were 35,298. Were they able to get an extra, 2,000, how does math work? 2,800, 2,700 tickets more on the Saturday to get us up to 38,000 to something very, very close. I mean, look, if you ask me, I don't think it's improbable because the Rock just added thousands of tickets more, got the show over the 30,000 person hump because, you know, the build to WrestleMania right up until this point has been very mid. It's been very average. And, you know, it's not just me saying that. A lot of WWE hardcore fans are expressing that same type of opinion. You're seeing it's a talking point that's been going around especially in circles where only WWE is discussed. People are like, well, it doesn't feel quite special. Well, you bring in The Rock, you get you get people fired up. He's here to mix up the show, get things unpredictable. I don't know if people expected him to wrestle. He was never announced as someone who would be there on Saturday to compete. But I would say that him just showing up was enough for this. It's The Rock. Look, whatever you may think of him right now in 2025, he is still an extremely popular figure. And WWE kind of has to be thankful to have him in their pocket. Because if they can just trot him out and he can get like 5,000 to 6,000 tickets more over just the course of 7 days. Well, I mean, that's a big deal. That's something they have to be really, really happy about. So it's very interesting. And I'm excited to see how all of this is going to line up at the end once WrestleTix does the final counts and so on and so forth, and we see exactly where we are. I'm very excited to see how this goes. But, look, they changed the posters, the graphics last minute for Elimination Chamber to take everyone who was on it off and just put The Rock front and center when they announced that he was going to be there. And people got upset about it. But I'm going to tell you what, there's no one else in this company that is driving 6,000 tickets in a week, 7,000 tickets in a week, getting them over a hump that I'm sure they were very, very, I'm sure that WWE really wanted to get over 30,000 tickets in the fucking Rogers Center, the former Skydome. I am convinced they would have been very, very displeased if they had stayed under 30K, especially in WrestleMania season. So yeah, put the Rock all by himself on all the posters you have. So I mean, who else can move this kind of business on such short notice in that company? Roman? Maybe. And then if the point being is that if Roman did that, put Roman alone on the posters too. That's my entire point. Anyway, so that's what we had as far as the attendance goes, and the business aspect of it. Of course, Triple H announced that it was the biggest Canadian gate in the history of WWE and their operations in the Great White North. Speaking of WWE being in Canada, look, I don't want to necessarily get into the weeds on this, and my own personal feelings aside, I do have to touch on Pat McAfee's comments about how upset he was that Canadians were booing the national anthem. I saw some people say, oh, he was doing this because he was getting some heat. Okay. He repeated this a couple of times. The terrible country of Canada, said that a couple of times. He was very upset, very gotten to was Pat on that one. He was very, very upset. And I don't know what kind of heat he was trying to get. And I don't know what for. There was no heat to be getting here. Pat's a babyface commentator. Pat's not a heel commentator. If this had been Nigel McGuinness, I'd be like, oh, well, it's Nigel. But it was Pat, and, he didn't sound performative. Let's put it that way. There's a certain tone to Pat McAfee when he's doing WWE commentary where, he's part of the show and he's hyping it up and he's doing a good commentating job. But this here, there was a little edge to it. It didn't feel like it was part of the show. I don't think Michael Cole and Wade Barrett thought that this was particularly part of the show. I felt that made them quite uncomfortable. They were sort of very silent. They weren't exactly jumping at him. If this was a heat bit, you could have had Michael Cole say, "Oh, come on, Pat. Canada's a great country that has always supported WWE." No, Pat went a little rogue here. He felt a little emboldened here to sort of let his thoughts fly. Cole had to resort to making excuses that this was surely related to the Four Nations face-off, right? That this is, that's a bit of a stretch, because, as much as you don't want to, as much as Michael Cole tried to dance around it, there is an anti-American sentiment in Canada right now. And you don't have to look far to understand why. You don't have to scratch your head much to understand why. And if Pat McAfee is a little upset because they sing the national anthem in Canada and it gets booed because people really don't care about the US or its policies or its positions or what it's trying to do to the country, I'm I don't know what to tell him. I don't know what to tell. He's about to have a hell of a wake-up call because they're about to go on an international tour, if I'm not mistaken. And if he's part of that tour, and if they start singing national anthem, the United States, the Star Spangled Banner, when they go to, where are they going? They're going to France, they're going to Italy, Germany, right? If they start, they're going to probably get met with some hearty boos there as well. He's probably going to find out really fast that there might be a few more terrible countries out there who just don't have the time for the United States these days. And it's not even the US in and about itself that I would say Canadians don't like. We don't like the guy in charge. But again, I don't want to go down. I'm already going down a little too far because the point I really wanted to make was, this. We have Triple H coming out, at the presser saying, biggest gate in the history of Canada, and basically, proving, showing that Canadians show up and they dump all this money into the product, and WWE wants to come into this market because it's a big market. Toronto's a huge market. Typically speaking, big Canadian cities like Montreal as well are huge markets for WWE and pro wrestling. But WWE, let's stick to the plan here. And they want to come in here because they want to make money. And then you can't on one hand come in asking us to spend our money on your product and then us showing up and then you berating us for doing our thing because, we kind of disagree with what's going on. It's very weird mixed messaging. It's very arrogant when you think about it. Because on one hand, thank you for giving us all the money, but also you're a terrible country. Okay, great. And I know, look, it's Pat McAfee, and in the grand scheme of things, he does not matter. That's fine. It's still, I just found it very funny, curious, interesting that they would nonetheless go down this path. I think Pat took it personally. I think he got. And it's crazy that these people who are this company, biggest wrestling promotion in the world, $1 billion company, will feel so fragile in this type of situation. Kind of like the Rock video that we got, the video package of all his accomplishments, not just in pro wrestling, all of his accomplishments. I'm there chuckling. I know this happens later on in the show, but I'm laughing. I'm like, why? Who has ordered this? Why does The Rock feel like he needs a video package to make him feel good again? Like, that is some small dick energy happening right there. If I'm The Rock, I am not concerned about making videos about, putting into light all of the great accomplishments my career has had, outside the WWE. It's very weird. It feels very insecure. And Pat McAfee came off as insecure as well. I don't know. Look, I didn't watch. I'm assuming this happened on the pre-show because I didn't watch the pre-show. Watching it on Netflix, you don't have the pre-shows. And besides, I don't watch the pre-shows, generally speaking. So I don't know. Did they usually, because typically speaking at sporting events here, you will always get the national anthems of both countries participating, right? So let's say in the NHL, the Rangers come into play a match against the Canadians in Montreal. Well, you're going to get the American national anthem first, the guest first, and then the Canadian national anthem second. I don't know if they did it. I don't know if they played the Canadian national anthem. I don't know if they did that, or if they did and played the Canadian national anthem first, which is against the form or whatever. Like, I don't know why they did that. Like, I don't know what they did. Excuse me. I don't know what they did. Or did they just outright play the Star Spangled Banner without, playing the national anthem of the host country, or having someone perform it? It's very weird if they it's very weird if they didn't, and I can definitely then doubly understand the boos. But look, you just have to, you're gonna have to figure this out, Pat. You're gonna have to figure this out. The people are kind of sore at the U.S. these days. That's putting it mildly, but people are kind of sore, and it's not going to get any better anytime, and not for the next 4 years, at the very least. So let's talk about let's get into the show. Let's start with the lead. Like, the only really interesting, there is one interesting thing to talk about on this show, and it is thankfully like super interesting. Like, it's terrific, actually. The main event angle that occurred where Cody Rhodes, first of all, I thought it was really funny that they decided to end the show with this. I did not necessarily see this coming, which I think makes it all the more interesting. But I did not see this coming, and I was surprised by it. I was surprised that they were going to end the show with it, and I was like, oh, probably something big. And I was like, $10 says it's Roman. That's what I was. I was like, because I had posited the idea this week, and I know I'm not the only one, but we had talked about it on stream, that Rock was probably going to, Cody was probably going to turn him down, and I wasn't sure Rock was going to wrestle himself, as opposed to find a proxy to fight for him at WrestleMania, kind of thing. And then I was like, oh, it's probably Roman, because Roman is conspicuously absent in all of this right now. Roman is nowhere to be found. He's not in this mix, is what I'm trying to say. I know he's not like, oh, where did he go? What's the mystery? It's just like he's not in this mix right now. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe this is what they're gonna do. But I have a theory about Roman and what they're gonna do with him. We'll chat about that once we get there. So, I was expecting something big to happen when they ran the Elimination Chamber before doing the chat segment. I was like, oh my God. And, I was making jokes throughout the day. I was like, oh, you want to bet that they're going to end with the chat segment, like a good old Monday Night Raw. And they did. They ended it all. But I mean, here's the thing. If you're going to end your show with an angle, it has to be like a huge and a pay-per-view. It has to be something huge. It can't just be like guy runs in and chair shots another guy and stands above him with the chair in hand. It can't be that. It has to be something significant. It has to be something big. And I don't think you can get really bigger than this in WWE. This was pretty fucking big. Where Cody Rhodes basically turned down The Rock and John Cena, who was in the ring celebrating his victory in the Elimination Chamber, which bled into Cody Rhodes coming out. So that's why he didn't leave the ring. That's why John was still in the ring, because Cody's music hit while he was still in the ring. And they were playing off the fact, hey, we're going to fight each other, brother. It's going to be great, And Cena stuck around for the whole thing. And he eventually revealed himself to be the guy who sold his soul to Dwayne. I thought the angle was terrific. Like I full praise. No notes. I thought it was great. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. The hug and Cena's face turning into a stoic psychopath kind of glare, and then he starts beating the shit out of Cody using a Rolex watch. As I was like, wait, did they get Nux? Who has Nux? Who brought brass knuckles to the ring? It's like, no, it was a Rolex watch. And he beats him up with the watch. and they all gang up on him. And Travis Scott is there too. He was a hip hop artist who I am not quite familiar with outside of him showing up on wrestling shows. And when he was coming out with The Rock, because apparently like he's part of Rock's entourage, And I was when they were both coming down to the ring, and I mentioned this as I was watching. It was like, I bet The Rock is really happy that Travis Scott is with him, because Travis Scott is so much smaller than he is. So I'm sure he's like, yes, you are acceptable to hang around The Rock. So yeah, this was all basically construed as some kind of huge ruse by Dwayne, who was one step ahead of Cody Rhodes, because Cody said, I don't have a soul. I gave my soul to this ring, to these people when I started wrestling. And then Dwayne, then the plan enacted where it's like not Cody, but John was the evil guy all along. He was the bad guy. So we're probably going to get a why John why thing, and but the beatdown was terrific. Like it was terrific, all the way down to Cody Rhodes bleeding like hell. So we got the color finally on a show where everything is promoted as being super violent. We finally got some color, like in the last 6 minutes of the show, and The Rock then starts whipping him with a weight belt that read Cody's soul on it, right? Because it's not a Cody Rhodes beatdown unless he's getting whipped, unless he's getting lashed. It's not a true Cody Rhodes beatdown. I thought, it's a shocking, surprising turn. The beatdown was very good. I didn't know what Travis Scott was doing at some point. He was the most awkward guy in this thing. He was the most awkward dude in this whole situation where, at some point he was holding like Cody's head. And I was like, what is he doing? And then he gave him a couple of slaps behind the back of his head. I was like, should he be doing this? Are those working slaps? It's like, I don't, I'm sort of looking at this. I'm wondering what the hell's going on? But, I've got no notes. Like, this was really good. And by God, if this hasn't made the build to WrestleMania any more, much more interesting. Like, now I have a certain level of investment in this where I'm like, all right, cool. Now I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. Now I'm into whatever they have planned for Cody and the John Cena, which is, turning, it's the match I think a lot of people were expecting / hoping for, including myself. But not like this. Not like this. So a terrific angle is ultimately the point. I think. Okay, well, look, let's get into it. Let's get into the questions that this situation brings up, right? Because there's a lot of questions that this comes up, right? And the first of it is, was this the plan all along? Or was this what we decided to pivot to because The Rock wanted in on WrestleMania, and or everyone sort of realized that the build to WrestleMania was kind of mid, and we needed something to jumpstart it, to make it interesting, right? Was this done to spice it up, essentially? Because like I mentioned, even outside of people like myself, there has been a lot of discussion in regards to the WWE, to the WrestleMania build being very so-so and not being necessarily inspired and not up to par. WrestleMania should feel special. So, was this the plan all along, to have John Cena do the turn? Or did Dwayne sit down with John at some point Opened up a bottle of tequila for 2 hours. And no, but did he sit down with John and say, listen, we got ourselves a plan here. I'm coming in and this is the story and this is the part that you should play in this. And you're going to turn heel. Finally, you're going to do the heel turn. After all these years of people, begging for a heel turn, for a John Cena heel turn, they're finally going to get it. And they're going to get it this year, right? And John said, okay, this sounds all right to me. This sounds good. Timing is right, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. That's the question, right? Because you have to think that they wanted Cody and Cena in some way, but I am going to stick with this until someone absolutely demonstrably proves me wrong. I'm going to stick with the idea that The Rock came in and tore up the plans again this year. I was like, no, we got to do something. I need to be involved. Well, not necessarily tore up the plans as opposed to last year. Last year, he tore up the plans. This year, he could have just said, okay, look, we're not going to tear up the Cody Cena plan, but I want in on this. And this is how we can make it happen. The guy was angling to run the DCU stuff, right? The DC Cinematic Universe, I should say. He was angling for that to happen. But, he lost all of his political capital when Black Adam didn't quite go the way that projections had hoped, that the studio had hoped. And then James Gunn sort of waddled in and said, hey, I got this. There was a power play and he lost. So, maybe he's just, this is a place where I can power play all I want. I'm Dwayne Johnson. I'm the fucking Rock. I'm a superstar here. Base level in this company, I'm a superstar. But it just so happens I'm on the fucking board of directors of the company that owns this fucking company. So I can do whatever the fuck I want. This is my playground. And no one's going to reject me because these WWE fans love me. Because I'm a legend. I'm The Rock. I'm Dwayne Johnson. And he was sitting there watching that video. I'm sorry, I'm backtracking a little bit. But watching this video and then saying, it's like, look at all these opportunities that I created for WWE superstars. And then he starts showing people with their bit parts on his fucking Young Rock show. Becky Lynch as Cyndi Lauper. It's like, oh, look at this great opportunity I created for Becky to have this bit part in one episode of Young Rock. I'm like, this man is so insecure. Like, how do you have so much clout and money and power and still manage to come across as so insecure? It's incredible. Parentheses. Let's short backtrack here. But yeah, I'm still thinking that Rock came in and laid down the law. It was like, no, like WrestleMania's got to involve me and we're going to do it this way because he has the authority to do it. And it kind of feels like, the whole Black Adam thing. Let's be perfectly honest when we talk about all of this. The whole Black Adam debacle and his, him failing at his power play to take over the DC Cinematic Universe really did end up tarnishing his image because a lot of people started, talking shit about him, his behavior on set and showing up late. You started getting more and more of these things. And he is currently coming across more like, a billionaire corporate officer more than a relatable guy, someone that you connect to is charismatic and seems really down to earth. The Rock doesn't seem down to earth anymore. So, I think for him, there's a lot of this that is image rehabilitation where he's trying to reestablish himself as a big top guy, even though he is. I think he doesn't like that some people don't like him as much. That's why he's flexing his Instagram numbers in promos like it's supposed to actually be super meaningful. I can't remember if I mentioned this on stream, but when he started telling Cody, it's like 500 million people follow me on Instagram. I'm like, what is this? Like, it sounds like YouTuber beef. It sounds like Twitter beef. Like people going, well, who are you? You just have 3,000 followers or whatever the fuck, and that always comes off as extremely small dick energy. So, I think there's a part of this that's all, to show that The Rock still has value. He's still that he's still significant for the world of entertainment on a very, very high level. I think this is all part of some kind of image rehabilitation project that he has. And WrestleMania is getting sucked into that. But anyway, the other question that this brings up, that the whole angle brings up, and this is the most curious one I find, is John Cena's last year in pro wrestling going to be spent as a heel? Like, Cena can't come out to, he can't come out to that now. Like on Monday, on Raw or whenever the fuck he shows up, right? He can't come out to that, right? Like, the little kids can't cheer for him. You can't have people want to buy his merch anymore. So he's gonna have a toasty, a brand new, fresh out of the oven, toasty CFO's theme. That's gonna start with him saying, "You can't see me," and then an orchestral swell of a chorus, that's going to swell, oh, and then a heavy riff guitar, a heavy guitar riff, jang, 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 just like the most generic thing. Yeah, I'm recorded. I am on the record right now. John Cena cannot come out to, he can't do that. He can't come out to his usual theme. He's going to come out to a brand new CFO's theme, and it's going to start out with him saying a line, "You can't see me." And then, because now it can be taken as a dark thing, right? It's not just cool anymore. Now it's dark. And then the orchestral, the chorus, swell, and then guitars. I'm laying 10 fresh dollars down on that one. That's how big of a gambler I am, by the way. Those are the principal amounts of units that I'm ready to throw around. I can throw around $10 like it's nobody's business. No sweat, brother. That's how you impress people. $10, really? Anyway, the idea though is that we're having John Cena, that there's the potential for John Cena to spend his last year in pro wrestling as a heel, and this is the one thing that when I step away from the angle in a vacuum, which I really like, then I'm like, that's weird and it's not a good idea, and I don't know who thinks, because who's going to buy tickets to go see heel John Cena at this point? Like, who's going to buy tickets to go see heel John Cena? You know what I mean? You want to celebrate. It's as if they decided to turn Hiroshi Tanahashi, in New Japan this year. Or if they decided to turn Sting on Darby Allin and then he joins, the fucking patriarchy or whatever the fucking AEW. You're like, what the fuck is this shit? No, we want to cheer this guy in the form that we that we know him the most, in which we know him the most, which is as a hero, a superhero. Like, so many WWE fans came up, kids watching Cena being, the superhero. And they're adults now, they're grown, and they have an attachment to that. I understand the idea of the heel turn. Don't get me wrong, but I think ultimately what you want is you want the final matches, the final tour to really be about, the what John Cena has represented, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. Unless this doesn't last any farther than WrestleMania. What if the build to, oh God, I'm fantasy booking. What if the build to WrestleMania for John versus Cody is John realizing that he lost the Royal Rumble and he really wants to be champion one more time, and he's not going to be able to do it, and he's realizing that he's lost a step and he needs all the help he can get, and he wants everything, and just like The Rock. So when The Rock came to him with the offer, he couldn't refuse, and right? Let's say we go with that. And then Cody in this build sort of resents John for doing it, but also is like, John, this is not who you are. You are a hero. You should never have stooped to this level, blah, 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 blah. And maintains that throughout the build, right into the match, where, John wants to do underhanded tactics, but Cody catches him and says, John, you're better than this. And John has a crisis of conscience in the ring, and he can do it because he's a Hollywood actor. So in the ring, there's this crisis that John is going through, and The Rock is ringside, and he's telling John, whoop him and kick him in the balls, and use the Cody Soul weight belt. But John resists and ultimately rejects The Rock, and Cody and John toss The Rock out, and then they finally have the match that we deserved, and without any chicanery or nonsense, or because or rejecting the elitist ideals of Dwayne The Rock Johnson. John Cena and Cody Rhodes have a great match, and John Cena wins the match and becomes WWE champion. We did it on his own accord. After reclaiming his soul from Dwayne Johnson. And then the rest of the year, he's a babyface again. I can't, there's no, I cannot see how this is going to last like an entire year. I don't see how this can be you can do the whole year of John Cena being a heel. It doesn't make sense, brother, sister. It doesn't. So we'll see how that plays out, as Alexa Bliss once told us. But I spent 25 minutes talking about this particular angle and ramification, and that's it. Thankfully we had that, because that's the juice, that's the stuff. That's the meat of this pay-per-view. The rest is all kind of nothing. The rest of this show is it's a full plate and nothing. It's just a serving, 2 helping servings of nothing. Let's talk about the rest of the card. But honestly, there's a couple of things, but look, let's just get to it. I mean, there's really nothing as interesting to break down, but the show started with the women's WWE Women's World Title. That's Rhea's title, #1 contendership elimination chamber match, and Bianca Belair won it. She defeated Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Liv Morgan, Roxanne Perez, and Naomi to win. I did like the Jade Cargill angle. I thought that was good. I thought that was a good angle. There were 2 good angles on this show. This one was good. I mean, the final angle was terrific. It was great. But, this one, the opener was good. I liked it. I thought it was effective, even though it's what's the point of, what's the point of cages? The match, everyone had entered the cage. The match was about to start. Why hadn't the referees already closed the door? This is the kind of stuff that you can that you can lose yourself in, because the idea of having a fucking cage is to keep people out and keep people in. So the last person, who was the last person who was introduced? Was it Naomi? I think it was Naomi. And she comes in, just fucking close the door behind her, right? Why was it still open long enough for Jade Cargill to saunter her way from backstage to the chamber and beat the piss out of Naomi? Look, this is the kind of continuity that it's not even continuity. It's the kind of shit that I don't like, and it doesn't make sense, and it defeats the purpose of these cage matches, of these gimmicks, where the entire gimmick is no one can escape, no one can get in, no one look, and then it's like, no, this is not true. You know, it's like, no, like, wasn't it last year that it was AJ Styles who got in and what was it? He kicked the guy? What did he do? Or I don't remember. It was last year, right? And AJ Styles got into the cage. And you're like, well, how the fuck did AJ Styles get into the cage? I don't remember. Did he go after Seth Rollins? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. The point is that he did get in. But notwithstanding the nonsensical aspect of it, the beatdown was great. I think this is probably the best use of Jade that they've done so far. Like, that was a tremendous beating. And then Bianca Belair, the tag team partner, she's in the pod, and they're not letting her out because them's the rules. So Jade is just beating the shit out of her. Now, out of Naomi. Now, Naomi and Liv were both in the ring when this happened. And then when Jade's music hit, Liv, the color drained from Liv's face because she was the one who injured out in kayfabe not Bianca, but Jade. And so she was like, oh, fuck, I'm in trouble now. Jade is coming in for me. But she swerved and went after Naomi. And I think the obvious theory is because Naomi stepped in to take Jade's spot in the tag team with Bianca and then became tag team champion. So I think there's going to be some resentment, some jealousy there. And that makes perfect sense to me. It's a good pro wrestling angle. I've got no issues with it. And I actually thought that this cast a shadow on the idea of Bianca winning the Elimination Chamber because it seemed like they were setting up Jade and Bianca for WrestleMania. But no, it does seem that we're sticking with. Well, but look, it not only does it seem, it is. Bianca won the match, and she's going to get her title shot at Mania. So good for her. You know what? I really hate how, the women all had the directive to walk up to the ring, walk up to the cage, right, and then take a pause and look at it and go and look intimidated. It's like, oh, it's so overwhelming. It's such a, And then after that, they're saying, oh, this is Bayley's third time in the ring. This is Liv Morgan's sixth or whatever. And you're like, at some point, you're like, oh, this is like my third time in here. No biggie, right? But they all fucking stop. They all fucking go. And then they look at the structure and they walk inside and they give it the old look over. And it's like, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into? But it's like, most of them have already been in the fucking Elimination Chamber. It's like, and it's so dopey and dorky and nothing is organic in this company. And this is the kind of shit that really puts me off because it's not organic. It's so contrived. It doesn't feel right. And it doesn't look right. Everyone ends up looking dumb. And here's the other thing. It's like I said, on the subject of 3, 4, 5, 6 times in the Elimination Chamber, like they being WWE market this match as this huge career-changing event that you're going to come out, you're going to go in there and there's going to be unbridled violence or whatever the fuck, and your body's never going to be the same. The same verbiage that they already used for Hell in a Cell. Well, they use it for Elimination Chamber too. And then it turns into nonsense when then they start talking about, well, this person's been this is their third appearance, their fifth appearance. And you're like, who cares? Then it doesn't matter. The concept should be, I am not doing this match because, or I'm afraid to do this match because it's so incredibly violent. But people just do it every year. Oh, this is my third. And nothing really happens in these matches. Especially nothing violent, especially nothing harsh that you could be watching and going, oh shit, okay, this is pretty intense. No, there's nothing's happening in these matches. It's just, just stuff going down, and you sort of wait for a spot or two. And the audience knows it because they're just waiting for someone's pod to open and to pop for finishers. That's all this is too. That's all this is, right? Like, if this was, as advertised, a violent, brutal type of match, right? Well, you'd expect people to get brutalized. You'd expect some level of blood. I know it's WWE, but nonetheless, blood and guts is not PG rated. They get in there and they beat the shit out of each other, and there's lots of people bleeding and whatnot, and that's because that's what it is. That's just what it is. This kind of stuff here, it's PG rated. It's kind of dull. There's really no excitement to the Elimination Chamber. Someone on stream last week asked me, Warren, what's your favorite Elimination Chamber match or memory? I don't remember exactly. I think it was match. I don't know. I have no attachment to this match. I have no recollection of anything about these matches that sticks with me, that makes me go, oh yeah. It's just a silly sports entertainment cage match in which nothing interesting happens. No violence, no brutality. It's just, you just get to throw people into a chain link. That's all. I'm not saying this because I'm shitting necessarily on the women. It's the same on the guys' side as well. But I'm more and more, I'm buying into this theory that WWE is starting to design its product to be to promote second screens, right? And I don't know if you've heard this theory, but it's the idea of stuff happening on TV, on whatever you're watching, but you don't have to be watching to understand what's going on, so you can be on your phone and fucking around with it, putting up tweets and Instagram posts and TikTok videos as the thing is happening. It's the idea of having a second screen. And I'm like, we've completely we are completely failing an entire generation of people who will not be able to appreciate any form of art. That's why there's so much schlock, I guess, being produced in entertainment, because they don't want you to just watch the thing, they want you to talk about the thing. And if you're watching live, well, you have to be on your phone doing live things. So if there's too much stuff happening in the ring, you're not on Blue Sky or TikTok or Twitter exchanging with other people and putting out your thoughts and using the hashtags. Netflix actually asked the people who create shows and movies, the production companies, they actually said, we are looking to focus on shows that create the second screen experience. So you could be watching not a YouTube, but a Netflix show, and they're doing a lot of exposition and explaining what they're doing, the characters, and you could be sitting there going, well, I can see what you're doing. Why are you explaining all of this to me? I understand what you're saying. But in reality, they're doing that so that people can still follow what's going on, even though they're looking at their phones. So, I kind of buy into that theory that a lot of this is that there's these long swaths of moments in WWE where nothing happens, because these are your cues where this is the moment that you should be tweeting, you should be writing about your feelings and what you just saw, until we get to the spot where then it'll captivate your interest. Then you'll be captivated by the spot or the angle or the cheap shot or whatever the fuck, as opposed to being invested in a match and paying attention to what's going on. I don't know. Look, as far as the women go, if we circle kind of back to that, I don't have much here. Look, the crowd was dead, following that theory, but whatever, you're there live should be something else. But anyway, you're actually paying a whole lot of money to be there. I wouldn't be on my phone the entire way, but that's just me. The crowd was dead. The crowd was dead for most of this, except for when they stretchered out Naomi, who did a stretcher job after the Jade beating. They were singing "Na na na, hey hey hey, goodbye" to her, and she's supposed to be the baby face. I guess Bianca Belair whipping the shit out of Liv with her braid was something, and she crossbodies off of a pod onto everyone, and I don't know. Alexa Bliss is doing the Sister Abigail, and people love it. I don't know. I haven't seen the Wyatt Six in forever. Like, they're never on any PLEs, pay-per-views. So I don't know what's up with them. Anyway, Bianca won after a very sloppy, dramatic exchange between her and Liv Morgan. So if you must know, 2.25 stars from me. Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus defeated Candice LeRae and Nia Jax. Good grief. Again, boring. I got nothing. I don't know, like, TV level match, was fine. Had no juice. Crowd didn't care. I didn't care. I don't even find people cared all that much about Trish Stratus when she came out. I think I think we're overselling just how big the Trish Stratus is in Toronto nowadays. Good. It's all right. She comes in. She has she gets her yearly match in, and then she leaves for the rest of the year, and then whatever. It doesn't bother me. I don't have any. That's the thing, is like, I don't have true personal high level nostalgia for that particular era of WWE, in general. Yeah, I will always recognize what Trish did to break the perception of women in pro wrestling, and what, as wrestlers, but it's Trish, it's fine. It's all right. I got nothing here. I don't know what you want from me. 2.5 stars. Let's move on. Kevin Owens defeated Sami Zayn in an unsanctioned match. I was stunned when I was checking out the cage match to see that this match almost went 30 minutes. And like, it felt long because it was long, but I didn't realize that WWE was like, yes, we'll have a near 30-minute singles match here on this show, which is flabbergasting to me. And look, I thought it was boring. I don't know what to tell you. There were flashes in this match where I was like, okay, now we're starting to go somewhere. Now we've got something cooking, right? You have Sammy, and there were some tremendous spots, right? You have Sammy, being pushed off of the turnbuckle through those stack tables, and I was like, oh shit, okay, that kind of rocks, right? And we're doing dragon suplexes on chairs and shit like that. I'm like, okay, all right. But I'll tell you what took me out of this match. This desire by commentary to beat us over the head with the fact that this was a dangerous, that this match was evil and bad, and that Kevin Owens was a bad person, and that he was beating Sami Zayn within an inch of his life, and how they were all, Michael Cole was screaming at the top of his lungs, begging Kevin Owens to stop. This guy has a family. You're his friend. What are you doing, Kevin? You bastard. He drops him at some point. And all the while I'm sort of looking at this and I'm saying, this is such an average WWE no disqualification match that I don't know what Michael Cole is what is wrong with him right now. I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on. And they built this, and commentary, before we really got deep into the match, we're talking about how personal it was, and all the usual stuff that you hear about Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and you're like, okay, yes, I've heard this fucking song and dance like a zillion times before. I know what this is about. I understand. And I don't have a problem, by the way, just to be clear, of these guys being able to reignite a feud at any given moment, right? A generational feud, one that transcends promotions, those types of barriers. I think it's great. The story of Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Steen, Generico, it's just one of those things. And, I don't have a problem. That's not what I have a problem with. The problem is when, we're trying to sell us this match like it's some kind of live murder that's happening right before us, when in fact everything that is happening is so perfectly, meticulously planned, which again is fine, but to the point that there's no room for any mistakes. It doesn't really feel organic. And there's no violence to it. There's no violence to the degree of Michael Cole calling Kevin Owens a bastard for doing this to. And the spot where he was calling Kevin Owens a bastard was when he was power bombing Sammy. He was using power bombs. He wasn't like slashing at his forehead with barbed wire. He wasn't, dropping him on his neck with these, insane brain busters. Hell, he wasn't even doing a stenilizer. At some point in this match, I was like, do you want to bet he breaks that out? It's not even there's nothing here that happened. And then they bring out the barbed wire when they finally do. They bring out the barbed wire, but it's just like, just another plunder thing in this match, just another object. It didn't feel special. It wasn't used in a special way. The drop toe hold on the chair, that was cool. And I was like, let's see what they do here. Are we going to get a little color? Nothing. Now, did they get some kind of edict to say, well, you can't bleed because Cody's the only guy who's going to bleed tonight? All right, fine. You can understand why they do that, but then don't set up this match, or don't hype it on that level. Because I was promised this brutal, violent thing that was unsanctioned, and that WWE wouldn't be held responsible. And what we got was just your run-of-the-mill, humdrum WWE no disqualification / plunder match, where guys are they're just doing things with each other. That sounded weird phrasing, where guys are just, they're just doing shit. There was nothing special about it. There was nothing that made me feel any type of visceral feelings. I was just like, all right, And I feel this match ended 3 times. Like, I feel like there was 3 finishes to this match. It went way too long. So long. And that's the thing, is like, ultimately I end up not buying it. I end up not buying into this promise of brutality. And this has been this essentially is the theme of the entire evening, where you're promised all of this brutal action and you get nothing even resembling that. You get nothing close. And here's what makes it all the more frustrating, is that this was the match I was most looking forward to, because it's Owens and Zayn. And I'm sitting there and you know, when it's starting up, and I'm like, good God, like this show needs such a shot in the arm right now. Thank goodness for these 2 dudes in Canada on top of that. They're going to be so stoked. And if there's ever 2 guys in this company who could just like go out there and stay within the confines of the fucking WWE house style, which neuters everything good about pro wrestling, and yet come out with something meaningful and good, but it just end up being the same schlock you get with the company week in, week out. And I know WWE fans are apeshit about this match, right? They're giving, on Cage Match right now, it's at a 9 out of 10, which is preposterous. I thought there was some good ideas in this match that never really followed through. I think I think that they ended up hampering themselves and wish they could have done more, but what we ended up getting was so basic. I don't know if they were told not to outshine anyone, not steal the show. Look, I don't know. I don't know what they were told. But these guys can go above and beyond. And even at some point, you know, Michael Cole actually drops the names Kevin Steen and El Generico, talking about their past rivalry. And I'm going to tell you, you know, you can go on YouTube or any other video platform and you can search right now. You drop Steen Generico in there and you go watch any single one of the matches that is pulled up off of YouTube, for instance. And I promise you, it's going to be better, harder hitting, and more violent than what happened at Elimination Chamber. I promise you that. I'm giving it the gentleman's 3 because I think that there was a kernel of a great match in here, but they let themselves be hampered, I think. And the overselling of how dangerous this was took me out of it. This is what also preposterous. Referee gets taken out. Another referee comes in. Wait, I thought this was unsanctioned. And then eventually, WWE officials come out. You know, the Hurricane Helms and Jason Jordan and whoever the fuck else, Petey Williams. They all come out to try to get Kevin Owens to stop. And I'm like, why? Not only is what's happening not even as harsh, any harsher than what you see on a Monday night or whenever the fuck, but it's unsanctioned. So what do the officials care? You see what I like? Even on that front, it doesn't work. It doesn't connect. It's all designed to take me out of the match. So gentleman's 3 on that, but extremely disappointing. Terribly, terribly, terribly disappointing. And then we had the number 1 contenders title for the WWE Universal title thing in the Elimination Chamber for the men, where, as we noted earlier, John Cena defeated CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Seth Rollins, and Logan Paul. I don't have much to go on. They established feuds. Looks like Drew McIntyre is going to be feuding with Damian Priest. Wow, that's a big step up for old Drew. after doing the right thing for Phil Brooks. There's a big old thank you. It's very, very average. Everyone is just waiting for John Cena to come in, honestly. CM Punk kicked out of every fucking finisher he was at least once. And anyone who he kicked out of 2 attitude adjustments, right? Wasn't it 2? And the stomp. I can see Phil backstage going, brother, you're taking my spot away from WrestleMania. I'm not in the main event again. And you're taking me away and you're having me fight Seth Rollins again. Brother, I'm kicking out of finishers tonight. You're going to give me that. I'm sorry, but it's really fucking funny. It's really funny that CM Punk is fighting Seth Rollins again. I'm sorry, but it is funny. And he's not getting a main event. And you know what? He telegraphed the finish to this. CM Punk had some kind of interview like the day before or whatever the fuck, or, in the lead up to Elimination Chamber. And he flat out said, it was because someone asked him about main eventing WrestleMania. And he just flat out said, I've sort of made peace with that. Que sera, sera. It's not up to me anymore. If it happens, it happens, and that'll be great. And I'm like, oh, he's losing, is he? He's losing on Saturday, isn't he? He telegraphed the fucking finish with that interview. And look, we know Phil Brooks here. There is no way he's so nonchalant about it. There's no way he's just going, oh, well, going on with his day. And no. Especially since somehow someone reached out to Dave Meltzer this week to say some people backstage are upset that the people who were on the elimination poster were taken off to be replaced by Dwayne Johnson all by himself. All this stuff happening and it all sort of sounds very Phil-like. I can't expect that he's happy with all of this. I think it's naive to think that he's really okay with all of this. He's back fighting Seth Rollins again, which is hilarious, which is really, really funny. And I don't think Seth is happy about it either. That's the thing. It's like, I don't think either of these guys are like, sure, let's have a WrestleMania fight. Oh, well, but it's okay because CM Punk, like you said, he's home. This is where he belongs. This is where he should be. Oh, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know for the rest. Logan Paul is, I don't know. He just wants to get the heat and whatever. And all right, Damian Priest, he's with these people here, and you see he doesn't belong. He doesn't belong in the same category as Seth and Drew and Phil. He just doesn't. It's fine. There's roles for him in the company. Being one of the top guys is not what it is, and it feels like a demotion for Drew McIntyre. And Seth is Seth, and it's whatever. It's whatever. All of this is whatever. It all led to the really terrific angle. Ultimately, that's what matters. But there you go. That's Elimination Chamber, a boring show, a truly boring, uninspired show. That only Paul Levesque is able to put on as consistently as he does. That truly is his great forte. And they can do all the stories that they want, but for wrestling fans, when it matters, it just doesn't deliver. It's just not there. So yeah, Elimination Chamber Toronto 2025. If you haven't seen it, don't. Or, watch, you'll be able to watch the terrific angle, I'm sure, on the WWE YouTube channel. And that's ultimately it. You're fine. You're good. And that about does it for this week for another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Thank you all very much for joining me today. If you liked it, of course, a like on the video or some ratings, reviews would also be tremendous. And on top of that, if you join me on YouTube, there's a little more extra content that happens there. And there's also a lot of content that appears, that is made available for members of the YouTube channel. So if you head on over to youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes and you join as a member, not only are you showing some support, but you're getting early access to a lot of things that end up on the podcast, and even some things that don't, that are just like exclusive for YouTube. So you might consider joining over on that front. That would be tremendous if you did, on top of the live streams, which I do 3 times a week. So there's always something going on there on YouTube. We'd love to have you there as well. I will be back tomorrow, Thursday, for the AEW Dynamite review, so you don't want to miss that. And of course, next week, we're going to be reviewing AEW Revolution. See what I was saying at first, now it's full circle, now I can say it properly. AEW Revolution is what we're going to be reviewing next week. So we have all of that lined up, ready to go. But until then, look, have a great rest of your week. Thank you very much for being here. Go watch some Randy Orton and get back to me, and I'll see you next time.